People think their phones are only for selfies and snacks until a single clip freezes everything ordinary and replaces it with a moment you can't quite explain. Tonight, we're counting down 7 alleged paranormal encounters captured on handheld cameras, hotel phones, and shaky backyard recordings. Ordinary scenes: a dad playing with his child, a beauty creator filming a routine, someone walking their dog, suddenly turns strange, and each clip leaves a different set of questions. Some have simple-sounding answers, others hang in the air like mist. Watch closely. You'll hear the noises, see the tiny movements, and decide for yourself which of these 7 encounters, if any, will leave you speechless. Case 1. Stephen. The blinds, the door, the light. Stephen was recording a quiet afternoon with his daughter in a small bedroom. The video opens warm and domestic, a child's giggle, sunlight striping the carpet through vertical blinds. Then, for a split second, one of the blind slats twitches as if brushed by an invisible hand. The camera lingers back on normalcy, and a beat later the bedroom door swings open on its own with a soft, hollow creak. The door then slams shut so quickly the picture jumps, and in the next few seconds the lamp in the corner cuts out while the wall switch visibly flips downward as if pushed by something unseen. On the clip you can hear Stephen whisper, "What was that?" his voice flat with that slow sinking confusion that comes when the world refuses its rules. In follow-up posts, Stephen insists the window was closed and the rear door was locked. He says no one else had a key and that the room is on the 2nd floor with no easy outside access, so he now avoids sleeping there. He also uploaded a short after clip showing the switch plate wobbly on its screws, which some viewers saw as a clue. There are several sober, non-mystical possibilities. A draft can make blinds flicker, but it's less convincing when a heavy door appears to swing and a switch moves. A mechanical fault in the switch, loose mounting, or a failing spring could cause the visible flip, while the door's movement might be a result of a pressure change if an adjacent door opens suddenly. Invisible pets, off-camera pranks, or a misaligned hinge can also mimic things opening themselves. Some commenters wrote that wiring issues can cause relays to click and lights to go out. Others suggested the clip might be edited to splice the moments together. Still, the sequence, child playing, blinds twitch, door swing, switch movement, creates an uneasy choreography that many viewers found hard to dismiss entirely. What would you conclude if you'd been in that room with Stephen's little girl? Case 2. Lake District Hotel. The routine interrupted. A beauty creator was filming her nightly skincare routine in a dim hotel room when the normalcy fractures. Her phone sits on the dresser. She's talking casually into the camera, patting cream on her face. From off-screen comes an almost metallic ping, like an elevator rail shifting, followed by a knuckle rap against the door and low, unintelligible whispers that the camera picks up faintly. She freezes, eyes darting. In the footage, you can hear her asking, "Hello? Is someone there?" Then camera angle footage from a few seconds later shows clothes that hadn't been there before, a shirt crumpled at the foot of the door and a sock on the floor with no visible person in the hallway. She quickly calls reception on camera. The staff tells her no one was sent to the room and that no entries were locked. Later, she posts a short clip showing the hallway empty, and her caption says she slept in the car that night. Older buildings produce weird acoustic phenomena. Pipes and radiators make metallic groans. Doors can bang when temperature changes cause frames to expand or contract. Thin hotel walls and shared HVAC can carry voices far from their source. One plausible explanation is that a nearby guest or staff member passed by, dropped clothing in the doorway for some reason, or that a misplaced cleaning cart made the metallic noise. Another explanation observers floated was audio bleed. Rooms in hotels are notorious for letting sound pass under doors or through vents in ways that make events seem closer than they are. Viewers fell into 2 camps. Many were alarmed and urged the creator to contact management and security, while others pointed out how often hotel rooms are subject to pranks and how easy it is to misinterpret building noises at night. Regardless, the clip's mix of physical evidence, the clothes on the floor, and the lack of a clear perpetrator keeps this one suspended between plausible and creepy. If you'd been filming, would you have opened the door? If this kind of footage grabs you, drop a short comment with your first theory. And if you've got something similar, send it to the address in the description. We'll weigh it in a future episode. Case 3. Joey Wilson, the pale face in the bushes. Joey's footage begins at dusk in his backyard. He's focused on a stretch of hedges lining the property, when, at the edge of the frame, something pale moves among the leaves. The camera zooms clumsily to the patch, and there it is, the suggestion of an elderly, pale face just behind a curtain of foliage, eyes that seem to catch the last light.
Joey pans back and you can hear him breathe sharply. He says in the clip, "No way." He posts multiple clips over several nights showing the same patch of bushes. Sometimes there is nothing, other times a pale shape appears briefly before melting back into shadow. Joey called the police after the first sighting. Officers searched the area and reported finding no one, which only deepened the mystery for him. He later put up a fence and a security light, yet he says the sightings continued in the same spot, either earlier or later than they had before.
Pareidolia comes up a lot in cases like this, that human tendency to read faces into patterns of light and shadow. A folded sheet, a mannequin head left in a garden, or the interplay of moonlight on white plastic could all create the illusion of a face from a distance. A person standing very still in the brush, perhaps even with a pale hood or mask, would explain it too. Nighttime recordings, especially when cropped and digitally boosted for contrast, can amplify these illusions. Video compression can smear features just enough to suggest eyes and a mouth, where there are only leaves. Forum reactions ranged from people insisting it was staged to others sharing eerier, less explainable experiences from their own neighborhoods. The lingering image of that pale face in the bushes, whether real, rag, or trick of light, is the kind of thing that keeps you pausing the clip and leaning closer, searching for proof one way or the other. What would you do if this kept appearing by your fence? Case 4. The Cat and the Broom. This clip opens with domestic silence and a cat on alert. The animal sits rigid, ears flattened and pupils blown wide, eyes locked on a corner of the room. Behind the cat, propped against a wall, is a broom. For several seconds, nothing happens. Then, slowly, the broom begins to tilt. First it leans just a few degrees, then slides down the wall with a soft scrape and topples toward the cat, which jumps away mid-fall. The camera's owner keeps whispering the animal's name. Then the video cuts cleanly, leaving viewers with a split second of the broom falling and the animal bolting off screen. Pets are often named as the most honest witnesses in these clips. Cats and dogs detect drafts, high-frequency sounds, and subtle movements humans don't notice. A broom propped precariously can, of course, fall on its own if it wasn't balanced well. A slight house vibration, someone stepping on a stair, a cleaning cart in another room, or even a pet brushing past off camera could send it sliding. But when owners swear the object was stable and there was no one else home, the scene becomes unnerving. Skeptics suggested a hidden string or slight off-screen nudge staged for shock value. Others argued the clip's abrupt cut indicates the owner was startled and turned the camera off rather than editing for effect. Either way, the combination of the animal's intense focus, the unassisted motion of a household object, and the abrupt finality of the footage is one reason this short, raw clip circulates widely. It leverages the simplest ingredients, a pet, an everyday tool, and a tiny, unexplained motion, and turns them into a question that won't comfortably sit back down. Case 5. Javier, the parked car and the face at the window. It's late in a hospital parking lot. The audio track is filled with the distant thrum of medical transport and occasional PA announcements drifting on cold air.
Javier records himself waiting by the curb. He's been sitting there for a while when a sudden, sharp noise, like metal on metal, draws his attention toward a row of parked cars. One clip shows him approach a vehicle and peer into windows that appear empty. Later footage, shot from a slightly different angle, seems to catch something at a rear passenger window. For a fraction of a second, a pale, round face looks out, eyes dark against a reflection. Javier claims he inspected the cars and found no one inside at the time. Car windows are reflective, and at night, lights from hospital corridors, headlights, and smartphone screens can bounce in ways that create uncanny doubles. A reflection of someone in the lot, a masked mannequin inside, or condensation on the glass could all produce an outline resembling a human face. Video compression and low-light noise sometimes stitch pixels into human patterns where none exist. Conversely, it's also possible there truly was a person who ducked down out of sight between takes. Commentators were split. Some wrote that the clip was a classic example of an artifact caused by a camera catching a mix of reflections, while others said they saw a deliberate presence and urged caution. The clip stays unsettling because it toys with our tendency to find human features in ambiguous shapes, and because the setting, a hospital parking lot late at night, already primes us to imagine vulnerability. Case 6. Jen, the scream in the forest. Jen was walking her dog on a wooded trail when the forest suddenly erupted.
The video begins with the usual soundscape: leaves underfoot, a distant stream, a bird call carried thin through underbrush. Without warning, an ear-splitting, high-pitched scream pierces the air. Not a human yell in tone, but a sustained, shrill cry that makes Jen flinch and the dog skid to a halt, hackles raised. The sound comes from deeper in the trees, and the echo bends oddly between trunks. Jen later tells viewers she didn't hear any footsteps, saw no figure, and ruled out the common local animals she's familiar with. Forests amplify and distort sound. Certain bird species and mammals can produce screams that would sound otherworldly to someone who hasn't heard them before. Foxes, some owls, and even a panicked deer can emit noises that are startling and hard to identify. Another possibility is human-made sound, someone playing a joke, a recorded sound, or even an emergency signal carried and warped by the terrain. The human brain also reacts strongly to sudden loud tones. A sound that seems alien is immediately labeled as something anomalous until proven otherwise. Online, folks mention both rare wildlife calls and hoaxing hikers. A few older comments referenced local folklore about the crying trail, though such references are often anecdotal and should be taken cautiously.
What makes Jen's clip stick in the memory is the way the dog reacts. Animals have acoustic ranges and instincts we don't, and when a pet's body language changes instantly, it escalates the footage from an odd audio event into something that feels personally threatening. Case 7. The Santa doll that moves. This one is domestic and it's winter. The clip opens on a living room where a small ornamental Santa sits on a shelf near a fireplace. The family dog is sitting on the rug, eyes fixed on the figure for several seconds. Then, on camera, the Santa's torso seems to shift forward by a few inches, barely noticeable at full speed, but obvious on pause. The dog growls, barks, and lunges. The homeowner sprints into the frame, and the recording ends. No follow-up was posted in that channel beyond a caption saying they were too spooked to check the camera review. Small decorative dolls sometimes have loose innards or displacement caused by nearby movement. Forced air furnaces, windowsill drafts, or a poorly secured joint in a bobblehead or articulated toy can cause minuscule motions that the camera, especially if zoomed or stabilizer processed, exaggerates. Another straightforward explanation is that a child or prankster nudged the toy off camera. Yet the dog's fixation and the owner's quick exit raise the visceral stakes. The sequence looks less like a joke and more like something the household experienced together. On social threads, many joked that the Santa had woken early, while others speculated about hidden mechanisms. A reasonable, cautious reading is that the doll moved due to a physical cause, but as with every one of these clips, the absence of a clear, immediate explanation is what keeps viewers returning to the play button. Synthesis: what these 7 clips have in common. Step back from the footage and look for patterns. Each video begins in the ordinary, family rooms, parking lots, hotel suites, backyards, familiar trails, and is transformed by a brief, uncanny interruption. Pets play a major role as detectors. Dogs and cats frequently react before the camera captures anything obvious, which is why so many viewers treat animals as credible witnesses. Phones themselves are a recurring theme. The ubiquity of pocket cameras means even the smallest oddity can be recorded and amplified online. And finally, ambiguity is the real engine of these clips. Small motions, indistinct sounds, and nighttime lighting create fertile ground for pareidolia and for honest, different interpretations. For every clip we've covered, there are plausible non-supernatural explanations: drafts, reflections, architectural settling, off-frame human activity, camera artifacts, compression noise, and sometimes deliberate pranks. But plausible isn't the same as proven, and that gap is where these videos live. They force the question: when a moment looks like something it shouldn't, what standard of proof do we require before accepting a mundane answer?
And if we can't be certain, how should we feel about what we saw? A few representative viewer reactions help illustrate the divide. Many commenters pointed out technical explanations first: low-light artifact, reflection from the parking lot lights, loose switch. Others focused on the human element, the fear, the quick decisions to leave rooms or call police, the animals' reactions. Some responses drifted into personal stories of similar unexplained nights, while a smaller group posted skeptical breakdowns, frame by frame, trying to reconstruct each clip as a trick of camera and context. None resolved every doubt. That, perhaps, is the essential takeaway. Footage can convince or unsettle us, but it rarely closes the case by itself. Which one left you speechless? We've shown 7 short, intense moments where everyday life meets the inexplicable. Some of these clips have straightforward alternate explanations. Others keep dangling questions. If one of them stopped your scroll and lingered behind your eyes, tell us which in the comments and why. Was it the pale face in the bushes, the door that seemed to move by itself,
Or that scream in the woods? If you've experienced or recorded something similar and want it considered for a future countdown, send us your clip via the address in the description. We'll treat submissions respectfully and never promote dangerous or invasive investigations. If you want more videos like this, cases that walk the line between plausible explanation and eerie possibility, subscribe. And if you enjoyed tonight's countdown, leave a comment with your best theory. Which clip do you think is most likely supernatural, and which one are you sure has a prosaic explanation? One more thought before you go. Ordinary moments are where the uncanny finds its best camouflage. Keep watching, keep asking questions, and keep your phone ready. You never know when the next unsettling second will arrive.